Hello Year 9. This first video is to go through the answers for last week's homework. So, question number 1. Find the element carbon in the periodic table. Here it is here. What is the atomic number of carbon? Okay, so the atomic number on my periodic table here is the one that's above the symbol. So the symbol is carbon, C for carbon, and the atomic number is 6. How many protons are in an atom of carbon? You remember that the atomic number tells you the number of protons, so that is 6. How many electrons are in an atom of carbon? All atoms are neutral. They have the same number of protons and electrons, so that is also 6. If the number of protons and neutrons in one atom of carbon 12 add up to 12, how many neutrons are there in an atom of carbon 12? Okay, so I know that the number of protons plus the number of neutrons equals 12. I know that the number of protons is 6 plus number of neutrons equals 12. Therefore, the number of neutrons must be 6. Now, if the number of protons in one atom of carbon 13 add up to 13, how many neutrons are there in an atom of carbon 13? Well, it's still carbon, so the number of protons still has to be 6, because if it wasn't 6, it would be another atom. But now, instead of 12, it's going to be 13. That's going to be 13. So now the number of neutrons, 6 plus what gives you 13, is going to be 7. And carbon 12 and 13 are examples of what? Well, they've both got 6 protons, they've both got 6 electrons, but carbon 12 has 6 neutrons and carbon 13 has 7 neutrons. And atoms with the same number of protons but different number of neutrons are isotopes. Okay, good, and I think most of you got that right as I was looking through your answers. Number 2, find the element oxygen in the periodic table. Oxygen, here it is here. And how many protons are there? Well, it's got an 8 above it, so there are, that's the atomic number. The atomic number is 8, which means there are 8 protons. How many electrons? The same number, 8. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So oxygen gains an electron to form an ion. How many electrons does it have now? Well, if it starts with 8, and I gain an electron, I go up to 9. What is the charge on this ion? Well, my oxygen began as a neutral atom, and I added an electron. Remember the charge on an electron, you remember that protons are +1, neutrons are 0, and electrons are -1. All right, those are the charges. So if I add 1 negative electron, my charge will be -1. Oxygen loses 2 electrons to form an ion. How many electrons does it have now? So there are 8. If I lose 2, it goes down to 6. What is the charge on this ion now? Well, we can think about it like this. So let's imagine we have our oxygen atom, okay, and there are 8 protons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this is what it really looks like, but I'm just showing you there are 8 protons. And in an oxygen atom, I will also have 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, this isn't what it actually looks like. I'm just drawing them like this to count them. So I've got 8 protons and 8 electrons. Now, what have I done? I have taken away 2 electrons. Okay, so if I get rid of 2 of these electrons, all right, now I've only got 6 electrons. All right, so if I've got 8 protons, the total charge from here is +8, because each one is +1. And if I've got 6 electrons, the total charge from here is -6, because the charge from each electron is -1, which gives me, if I add these two together, a charge of +2. Okay, now, I know that's a little bit complicated, so you might want to pause it and watch that bit again. And if you still aren't 100% sure, it's not the kind of thing that you should worry too much about at the moment. You will need to know it next year, but at the moment, if you're still not 100% sure about this, you can just make sure that you remember that if an atom gains an electron, it goes negative, and if it loses an electron, it goes positive. Okay, and the number of electrons it gains or loses tells you the charge on the ion. Okay, so let's carry on. Atoms are always neutral. Why is this? Okay, so the best answer for that would be that they have an equal number of protons and neutrons, and protons are +1 charge, and oh, sorry, I've said the wrong thing there. Let me start again. Atoms have an equal number of protons and electrons, and the charge on a proton is +1 and the charge on an electron is -1. Okay, at the center of an atom is the nucleus. Which subatomic particles are found in the nucleus? They are protons and neutrons. You need to write them out. You can't just write P and N. Okay, I'm just doing that to save space. What are the charges on these subatomic particles? So the proton is +1 and the neutron is 0. What is the overall charge? Is the overall charge in a nucleus positive, negative, or neutral? Well, I've only got positive subatomic particles and neutral subatomic particles, so it must be positive. And finally, ammonia is a gas at room temperature. Is ammonia an atom, an ion, or a molecule? It is a molecule, remember, because it's different atoms bonded together. Describe how ammonia particles are arranged, how far apart they are, and how they move. So it's a gas. That's the important thing here. It's a gas. So they are arranged randomly. How far apart they are? Very far apart. And how they move quickly in all directions. How many atoms of nitrogen are there in one molecule of ammonia? So ammonia is NH3, so there's going to be 1 nitrogen. There will be 3 hydrogens. And ammonia condenses at -33 degrees C. So condensation is to go from a gas to a liquid. You don't make anything new, so it is a physical change. All right, good. I think we all did pretty well on that. The only difficult question really was 2D and E. So if you're not sure about those, have another look at them.